Wow, what a week in AI. It really felt like this perfect storm of mind-blowing promises clashing right up against some pretty harsh realities. We saw some truly futuristic tech land right on our doorsteps, while at the same time, some of the smartest people in the field were telling everyone to pump the brakes. So, let's get into it. And we're going to kick things off with that reality check, coming straight from one of the most respected researchers in the entire game, Karpathy. When a guy who helped build this world says that the super hyped AI agents just aren't ready for prime time yet, well, you listen. All right, so here's how we're going to break down this crazy week. First, we'll look at that clash between hype and reality. Then we'll get into creation, control, and companions. After that, the browser and policy wars. Then genetics, glasses, and governance. And finally, we'll do a rapid-fire look at how big tech is reshuffling the deck.
Okay, let's dive right into our first big theme. Hype meets reality. This is really where the rubber meets the road. Or in this case, where the dream of these all-powerful autonomous AIs runs smack into the practical, powerful things we can actually use today.
See, Karpathy's point is pretty sharp. He's not just being a downer. He's saying, look, today's models just aren't smart enough yet. They can't really process text, images, and sound all at once in a deep way, and they can't learn on the fly. He even called their output slop. That is a powerful wake-up call against this idea that fully autonomous agents are right around the corner. But here's the thing, even as one of the biggest names in the field is telling us to cool our jets on that dream, another one is becoming incredibly real and powerful. And this one comes from Google. Google just plugged its Gemini AI directly into Google Maps, and this is a really big deal. The AI now has instant access to live real-world data from over 250 million places. So you could literally ask, hey, find me a coffee shop that's open right now, has great reviews, and has a patio, and it just knows. It's not guessing. This grounds AI in our physical world and gives Google an advantage that's just incredibly hard for anyone else to copy.
And that kind of power brings us straight into our next section, where we get into the really big questions. As AI gets more capable, how do we build it responsibly? How do we control what it does? And maybe even, how do we start thinking of it as a companion?
I mean, listen to this quote. That's from Jack Clark, the co-founder of Anthropic, one of the top AI labs. He's basically saying, we've built something we don't fully understand. He calls himself a technology optimist, but also says he's deeply afraid. That right there perfectly captures the tension at the heart of AI development right now. So that begs the question, right? How do you control a mysterious creature, especially when that creature can perfectly mimic a real person? This isn't just some late-night dorm room debate anymore. It has very real consequences, which brings us to OpenAI's video tool Sora and a very famous actor. Well, this whole thing blew up when the actor Bryan Cranston discovered these fake AI videos of himself floating around, including one of him taking a selfie with Michael Jackson. It forced everyone to the table. Now you have OpenAI, Cranston, and the Actors Union working together. And the key here is the push for explicit opt-ins. The idea that you can't just use someone's digital likeness without their direct permission. This is a huge battle over digital identity, and it's happening right now. So, while one side is wrestling with control and all these huge questions, the other side is just racing to make AI easier for all of us to use, moving it out of complicated code terminals and right into our web browsers. And you've got these two totally different paths opening up. On one side, you have Anthropic making its coding assistant web-based, super practical, super useful, and on the other, you have Napster. Yep, that Napster. They've jumped into AI with a $99 display that projects a 3D holographic companion onto your desk. It's a pretty wild swing from a practical tool to a futuristic digital friend. Which, of course, leads us right into the next battlefield for AI dominance. This fight isn't just in the labs. It's happening in your web browser and in the halls of government.
So check this out. OpenAI isn't just making apps anymore. They're launching their own web browser called Atlas. And the strategy is brilliant. Instead of being a plugin, ChatGPT is the core of the browser. It sees what you see, remembers where you've been, and with agent mode, it can actually do things for you online. They're basically trying to become the entire operating system for how you interact with an AI-powered internet. And while that battle is for clicks, there's another war brewing. This one's for political influence. The US AI czar, David Sachs, went public, accusing Anthropic of regulatory capture, basically trying to use rules to block competitors, and of having a political bias. Anthropic's CEO shot right back, pointing to a huge defense contract and their own studies to prove they're not biased. The takeaway here is that as AI gets more powerful, the politics are becoming just as important as the tech.
All right, for our next section, we're really zooming out because AI isn't just staying on our screens anymore. It's moving into our DNA, our jobs, and our very future. Okay, this next one it's a lot. It's both incredible and incredibly controversial. A company has released Origin AI. For $30,000, it can analyze an embryo's DNA to predict future risks for diseases like cancer or Alzheimer's. The potential to reduce suffering is obviously massive, but the price and the ethical questions it raises about genetic screening, well, that's sparking a really intense debate. And this kind of tech is landing in a world that's already pretty nervous. Just look at this number. A recent poll found that 64% of Americans want to halt the development of superintelligence until we can prove it's safe.
Yeah, this chart really says it all, doesn't it? You have this huge majority of people saying, hold on, let's make sure this is safe, while almost no one, just 5%, thinks we should just let it run wild. And this feeling is now being echoed by some of the original godfathers of AI. An open letter signed by pioneers like Geoffrey Hinton and Yoshua Bengio, even Steve Wozniak, is calling for a pause. And the language they use is serious, warning about everything from mass job loss to, well, potential human extinction. But what's just as interesting is who didn't sign it, the CEOs of OpenAI, Google, and Anthropic. So you have this clear split between the founders of the field and the people building on the front lines today. So while everyone's debating these huge existential questions, Amazon is just shipping the future. They're rolling out AI smart glasses for delivery drivers that project directions and package info right into their line of sight. On one hand, it's a huge boost for efficiency. On the other, it brings up some serious questions about workplace surveillance. It's science fiction becoming reality, with all of the tricky trade-offs that come with it. Okay, let's wrap this up with our last section. We're going to do a quick, rapid-fire rundown of the big strategic moves from the tech giants this week. Everybody is jockeying for position. All right, let's hit these quick. First up, Meta is trimming jobs in its AI division to focus on products and move faster, which is causing some tension. Microsoft is giving its Copilot a cute little animated personality called Miko to create its own friendly AI brand that's separate from OpenAI. And speaking of OpenAI, they bought a Mac automation startup, which just shows they are dead serious about owning the AI experience on Apple computers. And finally, Netflix says it's going all in on AI for ads and production, even while the rest of Hollywood is still pretty skeptical. So it all comes back to that Jack Clark quote, doesn't it? This week, we saw every side of that mysterious creature. We saw it's capable of world-changing feats right now, but its most hyped powers might be a decade away. We're trying to control it, live with it, and regulate it, all while it's changing everything from our jobs to our DNA. It is, without a doubt, a creature that is overhyped, world-changing, hard to control, and absolutely impossible to ignore.